Oh, I think this will do it. I think this will make us go live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Houseparks Megaworldwide, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. And I'm playing with something sort of on this thing, and I hope. Look at that. Bonnie is finally on time. Thank you, Bonnie. I think that deserves a shout out. We're all lucky that you're here. I'm very excited. Hold on, let me move this up here. This kind of, there you go. That's a little better. Excellent. Yeah, KG Dog, there you are, bunch of emojis. Hello, how are you? And I'm fair. Okay, that works now. Okay, hi. Let's see. Hello, folks. Took Friday a long time to get here. What's up for a snack of the roost tonight? There's internal conversations amongst the sparklers that I quite frankly am often not privy to, and I'd rather not be. So keep me out of it. But excite yourself. Hit the like, subscribe, share the show. I am in Los Angeles because tonight I will be at Flappers doing stand-up, as you do. And what else? And so I'll be live streaming that for our patrons, patreon.com/HouseSparks. Somebody just gave away some memberships a moment ago. I didn't get to see who that was, but I see that, like, Valerie got one. Is that right? Yeah. Look, see, there it is. Received a membership gift. And then David also got one as well. So thanks whoever gifted those. I didn't see that part. I just saw them coming through, so I didn't get to see who actually gifted those. So away we go. And is the chat working? Am I still on? Am I talking to myself? Is that what's happening in all this madness? I hope so. I hope we're all here. Am I alive? Yeah. It looks like I look live-ish. Yes, there we go. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so it looks like we're good. Now, one of the biggest breaking stories that we're going to cover right away, if I may, and please join in. Again, share the show, like it out into the interwebs, is this whole thing about the abortion amendment that's going on in Florida. So the one in Florida has a 6-week limit on when you can have an abortion, and the only time it allows for one after that is rape, incest, or life of the mother. And I think it's just for the ones past that, it's just life of the mother, period. I think it allows like rape and incest for another like 6 weeks or something like that, because in some cases it might be a minor and other kinds of stuff like that. And then, of course, at the end, the only way you can get one is if the woman's life is in danger. So the right wing is trying to reshape the fact that Trump, well, I'll show you. He shit the bed yesterday. And by the way, let me say this first. Hi, chat room. Hello. Hold on. I should never let the green screen through. Never. It's a bad move. It just is. There we go. And it should be this camera, not the other. There you go. On this guy. So, which also should be, there we go. Yeah. And that guy. And, here we go. That's why that doesn't work. Boink. Yeah. Okay. I love fiddling with the live stream while I'm doing it. Hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. Look at you lovely folks there. Let me go publish that. There you go. And then back to live mode. Hi, chat room. So, as we look at what Trump said when he was being interviewed about his vote on this amendment, you need to know that the right wing, for all this, like Trump trying to sell this whole we're the common sense party, the reason he's doing that is to cover the fact that they are absolutely not. And that, the limitations that right-wingers want to put on abortion across the country, that they will never stop doing until there's a federal law that they can't undo. They will just continue to turn women into second-class citizens in half the states in the country or more, somewhere in the order of 30 of them, actually, as best they can. Trump knows this, knows it. He doesn't really give a shit, about this particular issue. He's clearly paid for abortions himself in the past, or had someone else do it for him, and doesn't care either way. But he knows he needs those votes to get from that particular group to get elected, from the the abortion absolutists, the anti-choice crowd, and he also. In these one areas, I don't think he was prepared for how unpopular it was with the rank and file Republicans even. So let me show you real quick the two interviews that have gotten him into into hot water with the very people that he needs on both sides of that issue. Okay, so this is this is on. Why are you in there, you silly thing? There we go. This guy. On this particular, yeah, okay, that's right. This is I forget who the woman's interviewing, but she's a local reporter at this event he was at, and I believe he was in Pennsylvania. He's been hitting it a lot because he's under the impression that he could win Pennsylvania. He's not going to win Pennsylvania. He might lose it by slightly less in theory, but it doesn't look like it. He just wants this idea that he thinks Pennsylvania was stolen from him last time, just like Georgia, and therefore he wants to fight for Pennsylvania because he wants you to think he was this close to winning it. And then when he loses it again, he's going to say it was stolen from him. So just to be clear. But let me see if this is loud enough.
You overturned Roe and you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's...
Hold on. Make sure.
And you want abortion to be a states' rights issue. In Florida, the state that you are a resident of, there's an abortion-related amendment on the ballot to overturn the sixth.
Also, he's nodding and going up until she says what's going on in Florida. He's nodding until she says it. I don't think he has any idea what she's going to ask him.
Week ban in Florida. How are you going to vote on that?
Well, I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor?
I want more weeks. Like, what am I? It's the best words. These are truly the best words.
Favor of the amendment?
I'm voting that I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. Look, just so you understand, everybody wanted Roe v. Wade terminated for years. 52.
Also, this is a weird lie. And I got to say, I think it's, again, something he's relating that someone else told him when they were trying to get him to push for this so that he could and then when the issue shit the bed, he's now trying to lay it off on other people. Everybody was telling me, we got to get rid of this thing.
2 years. I got it done. They wanted it to go back to the states.
No, they didn't. Seriously. The people that wanted it terminated didn't want it to go back to the states. They wanted it eliminated because they think the default in the states, they could fight on it cost them less money to fight state by state. But it wasn't because they thought the states should have the right to decide. It's because they thought they could overwhelm certain states with money and get it kicked out, or just, and as long as they could find something unconstitutional within the state constitutions, fight it on that level, that instituting a state law that allows for it again, they could stop it with just one vote in a lot of cases. They could filibuster on a state level or stop it with lawsuits and all kinds of injunctions, something that would be harder to do on a federal level. That was the people who are against the right to choose for women. Everybody else was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why should women have to choose what state they live in by what rights they want to have? And why should states be able to override the rights on a woman's body and not a man's? It's just ridiculous. I mean, unless you're a neo-Christic trad wife type.
Exceptions are very important for me, for Ronald Reagan, for others that have navigated this very, very interesting and difficult path.
I think
interesting and difficult. Okay, so the next part of it is he's also being interviewed here, and he tries, the new tack on it is going to be try to attack it as the end of this bill allows, the Florida bill allows you to kill a baby after it's been born, which it does not.
Voting yes or no on Amendment 4 in Florida?
So I think 6 weeks, you need more time than 6 weeks. I've disagreed with that right from the early primaries. When I heard about it, I disagreed with it. At the same time, the Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month. And, some of the states like Minnesota and other states have it where you could actually execute the baby after birth. And all.
By the way, notice how the guy from Fox News is just nodding when he says, these other states have the right, you can execute a baby after birth. No state has that ability, not a single one. There is no court in this country that allows you to decide to kill your baby after it's born. Like, like the fact that anybody even nods at it is nuts. The fact that they don't vehemently push back and go, well, obviously after the child is born, that would just be flat out murder, and that's not legal anywhere in any form. And then make him explain why like what's left of a non-viable fetus with no lungs, or it's holes in its skull and its brain exposed, and no, it's spine fused and stuff, that the minute you cut the umbilical cord, it starts to suffocate, that forcing a woman to carry a fetus like that to term and then watch what's left of it pass away is cruel and unusual punishment. But somebody needs to make him explain what the hell that process is. For real. Not just past the, you set it aside and we make a decision, just like the governor said. It's not what he said. It's not how it goes. And they let him get those 3 sentences out and act as if it's real. Act as if that what he's saying isn't maniacally insane and just, quite frankly, it's defamatory bullshit. I think the one upside is it really lets you know what they think women are like. What do women do? What are the kind of decisions women make? Because that's his opinion about, left up to their own devices. That's what bitches would do, is essentially what you're hearing here.
That stuff is unacceptable. So I'll be voting no for that reason.
Voting yes or
yeah. So again, he's trying to tack on that the Florida bill allows for you to murder a baby after it's born. So he'll be voting against it. The idea that if that was included, there's no way it gets the governor's signature. It's bizarre that it would even pass. Like, you know what I mean? I don't even know how you would get a bill on the Florida ballot that would allow for somebody to kill a baby after it's born. Like, what's the wording like that makes that a possibility? Because that's what they're trying to act like that's the reason he's going to vote against it. It's not because he thinks, the 6-week thing, he'd actually be fine with that, really. It's because the bill also includes something where you can kill a baby after it's born, which it obviously fucking well does not. Okay, so JD Vance goes on CNN, and this is a constantly recurring issue. And I don't know how much they push back on this because I haven't watched this. But this is JD Vance basically running interference for Trump on this particular issue. So here you go.
Some confusion over former President Donald Trump's position on an amendment on the ballot in Florida that would effectively overturn the state's 6-week abortion ban. He is a Florida resident, and he was asked about this overnight.
Well, I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks.
So you'll vote in favor of the amendment?
I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks.
So the campaign then put out a statement that said Trump has not yet said how he will vote on the ballot initiative in Florida. With me now is former President Trump's running mate, Republican Vice Presidential nominee, Senator JD Vance. Senator, great to have you with us. You can help us clear this up. How can you...
I gotta say, I really don't think he can. And you can look at his face when he's about to be asked this question. This is not like, oh, great, I get to clean up another one of Donald's messes around the pro-life issue.
You vote for more than 6 weeks without voting for the amendment.
Well, I think all the president is saying, and of course he's going to make his own announcement on how he's going to vote on the Florida bill.
Because I have no idea what the ever-loving fuck he is talking about.
Is that he thinks that there should be more than 6 weeks. And he's been very consistent in that. He says he doesn't like just 6 weeks. He obviously doesn't like late-term abortion. I think like a lot of Americans, the president is sort of somewhere else on this issue.
Ooh, he was, did you notice he was starting to go towards in the middle on this issue? And he just said somewhere else. Can you tell me you don't know where the fucking runway is without telling me you don't know where the runway is?
And he's also said that he wants abortion policy to be made by the states themselves individually,
but not the people individually? How about that? How much smaller do the states get to be? Like maybe a state of being, perhaps A woman in her aware state as a pregnant person might be, I don't know, a state in and of herself.
Not by the national government. I think that's the most important thing here.
By the way, the what they want is the federal government, national government, the federal government making the decision for you. Choice allows you to make that choice. Them putting a ban on it from a federal level is them taking that choice away from you, and that's the federal government. Like, again, the rebranding on inverting this story, they're doing a terrible job. I'm not worried that they will actually do it, but I want to be abundantly clear. He's trying to make it so that if you vote for a woman's right to choose, like on a Roe v. Wade level, and there's a federal bill that does that, that's the government telling you what to do with your body. That's the federal government making the decision. And if Donald Trump were to pass a national ban, that's freedom. Yeah, I don't know what the, yeah.
Is that he's, of course, opining on this as a Florida resident, but when it comes to national policy, John, President Trump has been extremely consistent that he wants abortion policy to be made by the states. Florida, California.
That's not national policy then. And also, it's not a national policy. It's an abdication of national policy.
Ohio, they're going to have different approaches. That's okay. What he wants.
Is it, though? I mean, it's okay if you're him and you're you know, if you're on your third wife and you buried one of them on your golf course, or did you? Or if you're, you know, a venture capitalist posing as a hillbilly from Ohio, which makes no fucking sense, who has, you know, has been, you know, had to shop around for what effectively he believes to be a trad wife who will crank out kids for him, then yeah, then the decision's already made.
Wants is to focus on eliminating inflation, bringing down the cost of groceries and housing, and closing down that southern border that Kamala Harris opened up. That's where.
Yeah, she didn't open it up. Title 42 opened it up. That created the industry that the cartels use to this day. And it's slowly dying because over time it's dwindling down. But
he's focused, and that's where we'll continue to focus for the remainder of the campaign.
Yeah, so don't ask me about that shit again.
He said he was going to vote for more than 6 weeks. So what's your understanding of how he will do that?
Well, I think what he's saying is that he doesn't like doing it at just 6 weeks. Obviously, he's going to make his own judgment on how he ultimately votes on the amendment. I think he's probably making an argument about how he feels about the issue. He's not making some proclamation about how he's going to vote on the amendment. And of course, they clarified afterwards that he wasn't making an explicit determination of how he's going to vote or announcing anything.
If you want more weeks, and whatever more weeks means more than 6, and that thing has 6 weeks, that's a declaration of how you're going to vote, one would think.
Look, the president, I'm sure, will tell the American people how he's going to vote on it eventually.
Are you sure?
But he wasn't making an announcement last night.
There was a period in Donald Trump's life where he was not anti-abortion. Then he became anti-abortion, at one point suggesting that women should be punished if they have an abortion. Now he's saying he's for more than 6 weeks, but it's not clear how he's going to vote in an amendment in his own state. So that's why I think people are seeking clarity. You can understand that.
Well, John, the Dobbs decision, what it fundamentally did is this goes back to Democratic legislatures and the people, of course, who elect those legislatures. I think the president has said in a post-Roe, a post-Dobbs world, he wants voters to make these decisions. I think it's important to remember.
Oh, by the way, real quick. There are a bunch of people in the Heritage Foundation crowd and in the religious right that were around Donald Trump when all this shit came up. And Amy Coney Barrett got in there. And they were like, this is going to officially, we're going to get rid of Roe v. Wade, done, right? And it'll toss back to the states and we'll all outlaw it. And like you saw that with like the judge that outlawed it. And the idea is that that's where it would stop. And that legislation to restart a woman's ability to choose in any of these states would never frigging happen, right? They would have ways to block it, or they were under the impression that, especially in red states, there was enough of a wall against that any new legislation passing that would allow a woman to have the right to choose to keep it from passing. Right? They thought they had enough in place, and then in Ohio and Kansas and in other places, laws started, showing up that voters turned out for that reinstated a woman's right to choose. This surprised the Vance side of this issue, the hyper anti-choice crowd. They were shocked by the fact that places like Kansas and Ohio, it's driving the vote, and it's driving it towards Democrats too. Like if a Democrat is on the ballot at the same time this is happening, the chances are they're going to pick. There's going to be an updraft from whatever legislation that happens, and there's a bunch of them that are on the bill this fall. So, but when they went through this process, the chances that there was going to have to be a national abortion ban were fairly slim in their minds. You wouldn't need the president to do it. It was enough that he would reject and get Roe v. Wade tossed out. He wouldn't have to do anything after that because they believed it would go a different way. They thought a bunch of states, New York, California, they're going to have them. There's nothing we can do about it. But the rest of the states, everywhere else, will slowly but surely take over their legislatures, or we'll have one of our activist judges get rid of that right in the state. And then the effort to get it reinstated will be nearly impossible, right? So we won't need a national abortion ban from the president. And so he'll be able to get reelected, and he won't even have to say, I'm going to sign a national abortion ban. That's not going to come up in their mind. He's not going to have to lie on their behalf because the job is done. He did it, right? He was, and it was bleeding Trump's support in some areas because they don't need to vote for him again, because no Democrat's going to be able to pass something if they think they've got Rand Paul there blocking access to anything, or any, I guess Ted Cruz, anybody who has a future in the Republican Party who thinks they're going to run on a pro-life ticket down the line can be the senator that stops the legislation that reinstates the rights that Roe v. Wade gave women. So they're counting on that. So Trump could come out and say, I'm not going to sign a national abortion ban, and mean it. Because he's not going to have to break that promise, because he's never going to get a chance or there won't be a necessity of him doing that. And then Kansas and all these other states started passing bills to expand women's rights to choose in places they thought were safe. Now they need one. Now the religious right and the people who back Trump, and this is partly why JD Vance is part of the ticket as well, Heritage Foundation, all this crowd, now they do need Trump to pass a national ban. Now, he's not up on on current events in that regard. He's probably, they don't necessarily have him bought in on this. They probably think they can scare him into doing it, or promise him something, and he'll just do it. And then, in his last act as president, and then fuck people. They'll kiss his ass forever. Even if somebody overturns it, he'll still get credit for it forever. So he'll sign it. But the idea is that they didn't have to. That's why he can say, that's why he's still having a debate about it, because he thinks and they may have even had conversations about this. They may have had a meeting with him going, look, once you knock off Roe v. Wade, you don't have to worry about it. You can do whatever you need to get reelected and say whatever you want. You can say you're for 15 weeks. It won't matter to us because we won't need a national ban, and we'll make sure it does not come up to your to your desk to sign. You will never have to cross that line with us again. We got you. And then all these states started fixing it, and now he will have to do it. But they haven't had the second conversation with him yet, if that makes sense. Hopefully that clarifies where Trump is right now, because he's basically a year and a half behind the curve on this conversation.
Of course, that Kamala Harris has come out for taxpayer-funded abortion.
Sorry, Senator, but he's a voter in this case. The reason it matters, in Florida is he's a voter. Go ahead.
Well, of course it matters what his position is, and I'm sure that he's going to say what his position ultimately is, John. But I do think it's important to say that between Republicans and Democrats have talked about trying to defund Christian hospitals that don't do late-term abortions.
Why would Christian hospitals need funding from the federal government? If you're just a Christian hospital for Christians, what funding do you need from the federal government to run? And indeed, if you do need funding from the federal government to run, what makes you a quote-unquote Christian hospital? Do you not treat atheists? Do you not treat Muslims or Jews, Buddhists, Wiccans? If somebody rolls into the emergency room because you're a Christian hospital? Do you deny them care? Or do you do the care anyways because you're a Christian hospital and you don't charge anybody? Which sounds pretty damn Christian to me. What funding?
Donald Trump is trying to preserve some ability for the states to make these decisions. It is a very different approach to a highly contentious issue.
Yeah, it's a very different approach. His approach is no approach at all. Sometimes there's power in the abdication of power,
I think what Donald Trump is trying to do is identify some common ground so that we can focus on the big...
Really? What's the common ground? I need more weeks. Is that talk about a landing pad. Who among us cannot gather around a bonfire of, I need more than that?
National questions like, why can't Americans afford groceries and housing? That's what we're going to focus on when we win in November.
Why don't you focus on it now? You can bitch about it now, but why don't you focus on it now? How are you going to lower the cost of groceries? And don't say drill, baby, drill, unless you're going to explain how you're going to do that. Are you going to nationalize the oil companies and force them to drill? Or are you going to subsidize them so that they don't lose profits by overproducing? Those are your two main options. There might be another one. I don't know if you get somebody in, one of the heads of Exxon in a room and hit him with a fucking phone book. But the two mechanical ways that the federal government can raise oil production, which is subsidies or seizure, which one? You're going to flip a coin once you get in office? We'll decide after we win.
The former president, announced yesterday that he wants insurers or the government to pay for IVF. How?
Also, IVF is abortion. Just from their point of view, just so you know. You've got a bunch of eggs past conception. These are fertilized eggs that are frozen, and then you go through this process, and then once it works, or you give up on the procedure, all the other eggs that are left over are disposed of. And that is, if you believe life begins at conception, abortion. And not only is it abortion, it's abortion on a scale that dwarfs most women who have a single abortion because they became pregnant and didn't want to carry the baby to term, or it was an unviable fetus or something else, complications and the like. So, IVF, the average woman may or may not have an abortion in her life, but IVF is a guarantee of, at least 12 abortions, let's say. Because they have to try and fertilize the eggs, and then they're successful, and then they got to preserve them, and then they got to have an extra, and then more extra, and then they got to try again, and then again they throw them out after. That's abortion. That's aborting a baby after conception, to borrow their term.
Well, he's been consistent again in this, John, that he wants people to be able to afford to have families.
No. So he's for the child tax credit then, I guess. Oh, no, he's not. I see. And you are. That's the important thing. Oh, you're not. Oh. Well, your party is in general. You guys are just a couple of mavericks. Oh, they're not. So, well then, all right, maybe not child tax credit. Maybe that's that's like a tax break for the wrong people, and you're against it for fiscal and debt reasons. How about school lunches? That seems easy. When you got your kid at school, and, if you could take the burden of like 5 meals a week off your chest for, off your budget for, no, you're not for that either. What about pre-K? No, people should have to pay for before they enter the school system for any child care that should be an out of pocket. Okay. Sorry. Something about, I interrupted. You were talking about making it so that people can afford to have families.
And it's one of the reasons why we've supported an extended child tax credit that Donald Trump actually got done. He didn't just talk about it, he got it done.
No, he didn't.
He supported a whole host of policies to make it easier for women to choose life.
By the way, when he got it done, it was because the Democrats put it in as part of the bailout package during COVID.
To bring new life into the world. And this is just part and parcel of his broader view that if we want to have more families in this country, and I think all of us do, we have to empower young women and young families to make those choices and to have access to what they need.
Real quick, IVF is one of those things that's actually for slightly older parents. I mean, there are definitely young women, young couples that need it, but IVF is actually one of the things you kind of do later after you've tried everything else. It's often used, the oldest women to become parents, often IVF is the solution. Just saying.
You know this, John. I'm sure everybody who's watching has dealt with somebody, a friend or a family member who's struggling with infertility. It's a terrible, terrible problem that a lot of young families suffer in silence. I think all Donald Trump is saying is we want to help those families, make it easier for them to bring new families into the world. How
is he going to pay for it? Is this an expansion of Obamacare? Is this a mandate?
Yeah, the how, that's a gotcha.
Well, look, I think you have insurance companies that obviously are forced to cover a whole host of services. The president explicitly said that he wants insurers to cover additional fertility treatments. I think it's also important to point out that it's become way too expensive to raise a family.
Yeah, we're not there yet, dummy. We're not at raise a family. We're at make a family, dum-dum. And he's saying that insurers or the government will pay for IVF. That, for the record, is a guarantee of thousands of government-paid-for abortions. There is no way around it. If the government is paying for IVF, or it is subsidizing insurance companies, or it is forcing insurance companies to cover it, therefore having to offer them some incentive to do so, that is taxpayer money going to abortions. And on a scale that dwarfs almost anything Planned Parenthood would get funding for. Because again, you got 10 fertilized eggs at least that are getting kicked out. Unless I guess it's Octomom.
In this country, John, thanks to Kamala Harris's policies. A lot of young families feel like they don't have the ability to buy a home to raise a family in.
I see. So it's kind of like Mitt Romney's self-deportation. That Kamala Harris is avoiding the IVF issue because nobody wants to have a kid because they can't afford them. The way they solve the IVF problem is nobody can afford to have a child. Again, this is just fucking like, look, both of these guys are like trying to, can I just close my eyes and go to my happy place? There's just nothing here. Nothing for me. I don't even know why I came to work this morning. I was thinking the exact same thing.
They can't afford groceries if they have additional children. You can't separate the pro-life issue from the fact that it's become way too expensive to afford a family thanks to Kamala Harris's policies, and that's the thing.
No. Okay. Nobody in this country, honestly, because of the social services that we have available, in this country, is making a choice about whether to have a kid based on whether they have enough food to go around. The two biggest expenses that have to do with people's decision to have a child, statistically speaking, across the board, is the cost of a home and childcare. Those two things. What am I going to do if I still have to work? So where are they going to go? I've already got two kids. They're just getting old enough where I don't need that anymore. And I'm just getting to the point where I can go to work and they're going to school. And now if I have to find a babysitter or something like that, that's an extra expense that I'm going to have to deal with. And we're stretched a little too thin if I'm going to make the life for these kids a little bit better, right? That's the primary one. And the other one is we need a bigger house if we're going to have another kid, right? That kind of idea. Until we don't. Until they move out or whatever. Those are the two. Nobody's going, Jesus Christ, eggs are expensive right now. I can't afford to have another kid because cereal is expensive. They're not doing it. At least no one is saying that except this asshole. If anybody is, it's not showing up in any of the polling about this stuff. So what do? first-time home buyers $25,000 credit, like they tried in California and that they're trying in other places, make that a federal thing, helping people, with families and, they got wrecked in 2008, buy another home if they lost their home and now they're, they've been renting this whole time. There should be almost like a bankruptcy, like a 7 to 10 year window. There's a lot of first-time home buyer things, but there's not a lot of second-time home buyers that have been renting for a long time, like second chance mortgages, as it were, which would be a great move for a lot of people, especially people who were wrecked during 2008. Just saying, in a Sparks administration, that would be one of our leading things, along with a first-time home buyer credit. You would also help people who have families who are trying to buy a home again after losing it because of 2008 or something like that, and may have a hard time doing it, because there's a lot more of those folks than there are just people trying to move from an apartment to a house, especially during, in the age window of 18 to 25, for example. It's much older people, mid-30s to 40s. So supplying something like that would be a good idea. And then universal pre-K or some available subsidy for people below a certain income level for after-school programs or for childcare, something like that. That would answer it. That would make the people who are making optional abortions, like going, I can't afford to have another child, or disincentivized against having another child. That would open them up to it, right? Not because fucking Pop-Tarts are expensive.
That Donald Trump most wants to change.
How would this work if a state, and you believe that states should have the right to make these decisions, if a state bans IVF, but Donald Trump says he wants to guarantee and or pay for IVF for everyone who wants it, how would that work if a state banned it?
Well, John, I think it's such a ridiculous hypothetical.
Why? Alabama did exactly that.
Because Alabama, which is maybe the most conservative state in the entire union, has actively protected fertility access and fertility treatments.
Because they had to.
There's no state in the union, whether a right-wing state or a left-wing state, that I think is trying to ban access to fertility treatments. And if Alabama...
Yet, first of all, the attempts at it have been tried multiple times. Do you think they're going to stop?
Alabama's protecting this stuff. I think it's safe to say the whole country is as well. So,
well, but the court,
look,
but there was a court.
I think that what Donald Trump again wants to do
who's to say that
is
there's not another
protect
court?
access.
Who's to say there's not another court in another state that could decide?
Wait, did you hear what he said at the tail end of that real quick? Listen to what he says, what Vance says.
Say that there's not another court.
Access.
Protect access. Hold on.
Well,
but the court.
Look,
but there was a
I
court.
think that
Who's
what
to say
Donald
there's
Trump
not?
again wants to do
Who's to say that
is
there's not
protect
another court?
access.
You hear that? I think what Donald Trump wants to do is protect access. Well, here's a good idea. How about a federal, we're going to pass a law that it gives the right to IVF and fertility treatments to, on a federal level. That would protect access. That would stop any state from trying it. You wouldn't even have an Alabama judge that would try to shut it down because they couldn't, because there's a federal protection for it. I'll tell you why. Because IVF involves abortion according to the purists, and he can't do that. So he can't protect access. You cannot say, I'm here to protect access, when you are saying, I'll leave it up to the states. That's not protecting access. That's abdicating the responsibility for it. And we'll pay for it. You just have to move to another state. Then make the then we're having the conversation about how women are second-class citizens in our fucking country right now because they have to move to have the same rights as a man.
Who's to say there's not another court in another state that could decide that IVF should be banned? It happened in Alabama for a minute. You also voted against a measure in the Senate that would have guaranteed access to IVF around the country. So it's possible, right?
Well, two things, John. First of all, yes, a court made that decision in Alabama, and like the next second, the Alabama state legislature fixed that problem and ensured women had access to these fertility treatments. And all that I voted on, John, is for religious liberty. I don't want Christian hospitals or Christian charities to be forced to do something that they don't want to do. We have
They don't have to. As long as they don't get federal funds, they can do whatever the fuck they want. Don't take federal funds. And if you don't pay taxes, why are you getting federal funds? Shouldn't you sort of be in an ecosystem or an economy outside of the taxation system? I do remember something in the Bible about give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, but let's put that aside for right now.
Republican measures that support fertility treatment, support IVF, but don't require Christian hospitals or other religious organizations to violate their conscience. I think all of us accept that we live in a big country with diversity of opinions. We want women to have access to this needed medical treatment. We also want to make sure that Christians...
Do we, though? Yeah, he's asking you, what if they don't want them to have access to it? What if somebody wants to institute Sharia law in Dearborn, Michigan? How about that? Are you cool with that? Are you all DEI about that too? Because I'm guessing not.
Organizations can live their conscience. I don't think there's any tension there or any conflict. And fundamentally, it's Democrats who are trying to force people to do things against their will. That is a way to inflame this topic instead of solving the problems for young families.
By the way, doing things against their will means paying your taxes, and that some of those taxes might be to support women who have IVF treatments, to pay for the bill that Donald Trump is suggesting he will be for. Yeah.
Is it fair to say the details on IVF haven't been worked out yet, how either the government or insurers would be?
Dude, nothing about this campaign's details have been worked out yet. There aren't any details. You know what? Don't worry about it. Yeah, in 2 weeks, Donald Trump will have his healthcare plan out, and I'm sure it'll all be nailed down. Good Lord. By the way, you're watching How Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show.
Be forced to pay for it?
Well, John, of course, all details get worked out in the legislative process, and we're
not when your attitude is let the states solve it.
Not in the legislative process because we haven't won yet. But I think that President Trump, again, just believes that we wanted women to have access to these fertility treatments. He wants to make it more accessible, more affordable for more families.
Then why not pass a federal law protecting that right? You voted against it. Why, if he wants, all right, if Donald Trump, if it's an important priority for him, work with me on this, dipshit. If Donald Trump wants to make IVF and the availability of IVF and other fertility treatments crucial treatments available to every woman in this country, and he wants to make it, open access to it, why the fuck would he put somebody on his ticket who voted against it? Why would he bring JD Vance on board if that's one of his biggest priorities? Vance voted against this. Vance voted against women having the right to IVF.
Because we believe in the Republican Party, and Donald Trump believes American families are the foundation of our country. They're the best thing about living in this great country. You have a lot of young women today who say they'd like to have more children, but for some reason, health or financial, they're not able to. We want to try to solve that problem because we want young women and young families to have the family life that they want and that they choose.
Yeah. So, but if they want it and they live in fucking Arkansas, they should probably move to New York State or California, just to guarantee that if they have to keep trying, that right will still be there, that during their IVF treatment, one of those states won't shut off the fucking spigot and file and have one of their right-wing judges file an injunction against a piece of legislation on the federal level that protects that right on the premise that it is taxpayer-funded abortion. Because that's what you're going to do. That's what's going to happen. And these motherfuckers, you remember Abbott and the whole, Texas filing lawsuits against Pennsylvania and Georgia about the elections, that these assholes think that other governors have standing to sue other states about what they're doing. So one state guarantees it next door to your state, and people start moving there. And so Abbott and these guys file a lawsuit against New Mexico or some other state and says, they've got to outlaw it too because they're killing babies. Because these eggs have a right to life. And there's no federal law, like Trump is just, the referee will just leave the fucking ring. This is so lazy. Like, I understand political speak, and I know when people are trying to be, like on vague cleanup, but this is the exact opposite of what he's allegedly saying here. By the way, you're watching House Sparks Megaworldwide. Do I have the chat? Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. wrong screen. Hold on. This is, where are you? Chat room. Me and the chat. There you go. Okay, now it works. By the way, thanks for watching. Hi, I'm in LA. I've got a show tonight at Flappers, and I don't even know what I'm going to talk about yet. And I'm trying not to know. That's the hard part. As I increasingly, as I do these Flapper shows, there's a part of your brain as a performer that goes, hey, maybe this. Hey, maybe we'll talk about this. And I literally have to actively distract myself from even thinking about, allowing myself to like lay seeds of what I might talk about, because I want it to be as raw as possible. So, this today's afternoon show is me going la 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 la. Just so you know. Anyways, I want to show you a moment from Trump's Pennsylvania rally that just happened. He's there today, and by the way, hold on. Let's see. He wants all women pregnant and in the kitchen, says Robin. And then, and not every oak seed gets me. Child brides, child breeders. That's what Republicans want. It's it's a curious question, Seth. I got to say, if you drill down with a bunch of them, they seem to lean that way. I think Trump just doesn't give a shit. I don't think he thinks through any of this. I think he looks for the political opportunity of it, and he doesn't care how it affects women. Yeah? Okay, so let me show you real quick, if I may, ladies and gentlemen. This is... There we go. This is Trump just today, like a little bit ago. He's in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. He's hitting Pennsylvania like crazy. He's going to be all over Pennsylvania because he thinks he can borrow the news cycle in the general area, and he needs... He thinks he knows he's going to lose Wisconsin, so he's trying to gain back some vote in Pennsylvania, and he won it once before when faux-gressives threw the race against Hillary. So he thinks he's going to get it back. He's not. He isn't. And these dudes in fucking, like, hard hats behind him trying to pretend he's pro-union. It's just fucking disgraceful. But let's... This is his bit about drug dealers. Real quick, I just want you to hear this, because he goes deeper into it than I've ever heard him. Right here.
Inundated with really tough people that are criminals. I want to get them the hell out. If I was the head of a country, the president of a country...
He was, by the way. I don't know if you remember. It's a terrible thing. You might have blacked it out, but he actually was, at one point, the president of a country, the head of a country. He was actually that. He did have that job. As insane as that is, he actually did. But anyways, something about mental decline.
If I was in charge of anything having to do with the country...
Mm-hmm. You would do what?
I would have moved them out even faster than they're doing. They are moving people into our country at numbers that nobody's ever seen.
Okay, so this is the whole thing about these Latin American countries are dumping their criminals indoors. And if he was a president of a country, he would totally, any country, if he even had half a chance, he would do the same. He didn't do it.
And those countries are becoming safe countries. And wait till you see what's going to happen. You know, they're...
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet because it's not going to happen, but whatever.
Just getting acclimated. You know what that means, acclimated?
No one knows what acclimated means. Okay, that's not a... I forgot about that. It's not a word. Acclimated or acclimatized, I guess. And so out of that, you get acclimated.
You see what's going to happen. You know, they're just getting acclimated.
They are.
You know what that means, acclimated?
Big chat room. Yeah. Do you want results for yeah. Yeah. Acclimated has never been a word. I'm just checking to make sure I'm not that he's not just using an odd word. He means acclimated. Just for the record. Hold on. I'm gonna go. Whew. There you go. Acclimated. Mm-hmm.
Getting used to a society that really goes too far.
That's us, I guess. So the criminals are getting acclimated to a country, to a society that goes too far. So it's hard for them to understand how free they are to be monsters. I don't understand.
And the only thing they go after is guys like Trump because he protests an election. That's the only thing they're good at going after. They don't go after criminals. They don't go after people that kill people.
Yeah, they do, just for the record.
They don't go after drug dealers that kill, on average, 500 people during their lifetime.
Also, I like this averaged out idea. First of all, if that's the case, if the average drug dealer kills 500 people, which is bullshit, whatever, like what they're guilty of 500 deaths because somebody else had 1,000, I don't understand. Like a weed dealer is responsible for all the deaths killed by a meth guy. Like, it's so, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, it's insane. But, yeah, there was, he let that one woman who was responsible for like a multi-million-dollar weed and coke drug dealing organization, he let her out of jail. The guys who killed on her behalf are still in jail, but he let her out. Because I guess because she didn't pull the trigger, killing her rivals and stuff, that she's not responsible.
So a drug dealer kills 500 people, and the only thing they would understand would be the death penalty. If you had the death penalty for drug dealers, you wouldn't have any more drugs.
Yeah, you would. The Philippines has drugs, even though they have the death penalty for it. Like, Jesus Christ. It would just, the price would go way up.
You wouldn't have any more drugs.
I like the fight upside down. It's good. Just in case anybody's watching this laying over the side of their bed.
Instead, we formed blue ribbon committees made up of our great First Lady and lots of people like Steve Witkoff, great developer in New York.
Instead, we do stupid shit like talk about it, like my wife and this asshole.
But
we don't need a blue ribbon committee. We just need to murder people.
They don't do this for a living. The only thing they understand, I went to China, I saw President Xi, had a good relationship until COVID came in, then I broke it off. That was too much.
No, he didn't. After you left office, you were pissed because you thought he was going to help you get reelected, I suppose. But you were constantly telling us during the beginning of it that he was very professional. It was handled. It was going to go away with the sunlight. That she was being very, like central casting about it.
But I said to him, and I had a great relationship with him, and I will again probably.
Why? If he's responsible for COVID, why would you have a good relationship with him after?
But I said, do you have a drug problem? 1.4 billion people. No, we have no drug problem. Why don't you have a drug problem? Because we have the death penalty, he said.
No, he didn't.
For drug dealers.
For drug dealers. Yeah, they sure. And if they think you've been using drugs, they'll kill you. So it's a good thing, I guess, he's not standing in front of him right now.
If they sell drugs, they die, he said.
And if they're suspected of selling drugs, they die. And if they buy some drugs, they die. And if they don't buy some drugs, but they're suspected of buying drugs, they die. And anyways, sorry, you were saying something about freedom.
So those people that sold drugs, they said, let's go to another country. This is a little bit tough. But they do in many other countries. In countries where you have that, you don't have a drug problem. And we are becoming a drug-infested nation, whether you like it or not. We're becoming a drug-infested nation.
Since when? Again, what I think he means is this is what going to be his, like, reverse the push to legalize weed. They think that he's just going to go straight back to the slippery slope.
So we better get our act together. Years ago.
Also, what's our act together? What does that mean? Shoot guys who sell pot?
Centuries ago, China was taken over numerous times by smaller nations, much smaller nations, because they.
Okay, England had a smaller geography, but it was one of the wealthiest countries in the world.
We're all drugged out from the opium fields and all of that. And then one of their very powerful leaders said no more, and they ended it. And we're going to have to end it too, because we're really a country that we're a failing nation in a lot of ways. What they've done to our country.
The Chinese?
Is incredible. What is Kamala, who's a total lightweight. Did you see her on television last night? This is going to be the president. This is going to be the president of our country? I don't think so.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say it in the affirmative, though.
Sitting propped up at a desk.
They're in a restaurant. With
this guy, this Tampon Tim.
Look at that. Look at the shake in his face. This is, by the way, I want to remind everybody, this is the same face he made when Joe Biden was kicking his ass. I'm going to lose to this guy. Remember that? That's exactly what this is. Okay, so, I mean, we don't need to watch the whole thing because it's a waste of fucking time. And none of us will ever get acclimated to it in the first place. Now, the next thing I want to do, how much time do I have? Okay, I'm good. So, Trump did this thing with Hung Kao, the guy who's running for office, and he does this thing after he was at the Arlington Cemetery thing. He told, by the way, at that Trump rally that we just showed, he told the whole story about the Arlington thing and just left out all the details that are bad. Just basically he didn't mention the altercation, didn't mention that he had his own videographers there, didn't mention that they put an ad together on TikTok of all the pictures that they took, that they not only took copies of the pictures taken by the families, but they also took their own pictures, which was the point, right? So here he is, he's in Virginia at a Vietnamese restaurant, and I gotta say, they talk about him beforehand. Here, I'll just like Hung Kao introduces him, and then he comes in.
And you know what you just said is actually very important. The first, and you should be the first. And it's time that you had somebody. So I hope your community gets out.
By the way, you might have seen this piece of it before. This little chunk of it was on some media, made the rounds, because he says something, I'll be the first Vietnamese American to be a representative in Congress or something like that. And so he's kind of making a show of supporting this guy.
100%. You have a big community here. And thank you very much. Real honor. Now I'm going to buy something. They're going to show me something. I'm going to buy something beautiful. I don't know what it is. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Oh, there they are. They're the important ones. They're the ones that make the food. I'll sign something.
They have a little. That's why I think what it is like they have one of those, like, people sign a book when they come to the.
President Trump, will you still participate in the ABC debate?
Never give up.
So we did want to share this live look with you. This is happening right.
So this is this part she talks over, and the first part of that where he set it up to that point was on some of the news things. From this point forward, I haven't seen clips of it except here. This is Falls Church, Virginia. This is him, and he takes some questions, and I think one of them is about the Arlington Cemetery.
Now in Falls Church, Virginia, a Vietnamese inside and former president at a wreath-laid fallen Afghan. And listen.
that right? Donna Brazil gave the questions. You know that, right? That was her. I'm looking. I said, I haven't seen her in a long time, but she's the one that gave the questions to a debate to Hillary Clinton, Crooked Hillary. And when I look at that, and I looked at, there was some other, a blonde woman. I have no idea who she was. The level of hostility was incredible.
Oh, this is the woman who asked about the abortion question, I think.
And Reince was in there, but he was a little bit softer than he should be, to be honest with you. But when I looked at the hostility of that, I said, why am I doing it? Let's do it with another network. I wanted.
Oh, he's talking about ABC, I think. That the idea is that Kamala is friends with the people who run ABC.
Do it. You know, I won because of debates. Ask Biden.
You lost. Ask Biden. He debated you and you lost. And by the way, you're going to lose because of that debate, because Biden would have won, honestly. But that debate, the fact that he stepped down from it, was his own failure because of his age and other reasons and illness and maybe the Havana syndrome, whatever it is. Oh, sorry, I'm just showing the chat window. I apologize. Hold on. Preview mode. Thanks. Why is it not coming up? Oh, because it was in preview mode. I'm sorry. Here you go. So this is him at this place. He's signing a book here. Thank you for letting me know. There's a button that puts it in like preview mode and then live mode, and it doesn't forward the screen. So I'm looking at something you're looking at that's different. Now we're looking at the right thing. Now the screen's up. Okay. So anyways, he's signing people's autograph books and chatting over this. But he's talking about well, you'll see.
I won because of debates. I want to do debates, but she, the head of ABC, is her comrade's best friend. You know that, right? They like husbands and the whole thing. What kind of a deal is that? I want to have a fair debate. And you know, they can ask me tough questions. I don't mind.
Well, if they can ask you tough questions and you don't mind, and it'll be a tough debate, and you're great at it and you have the best words, then what's the problem? Who gives a shit if they own or run the network, right? And like, honest to God, what they're trying to do is portray ABC, NBC, and CBS and CNN like they're Fox News, so that he can go on Fox News and it's considered a wash.
I've heard them all from you. I hear them every day. But I think it's very unfair. The single worst network for unfairness, I think, worse than CNN, worse than NBC, which is really hard to believe, and CBS is probably the best of the group. Fox is the best, but of the other side. As an example, today we had a celebration of some great people, some great people.
Okay, so this is, yeah. So what he means is this is after the Arlington thing. Now, I'll show you after this what he says. Like, I had to go someplace after the Arlington thing. I had to leave, right? Where he left to go to was this. I just want you to remember that. When he left the cemetery at Arlington, he went to Falls Church, Virginia, and he did this little restaurant gathering with Hung Kao and other people there, and he had a little press gaggle, and then he went home. That was it. Well, shit, here, let me, why wait? Let's go back to here. Now, I'm going to see if...
The wonderful families, and they come in, and we're in Washington. They said, would it be possible, sir, would it be at all possible for you to come because we're celebrating our child's life? The child was buried because of Joe Biden and Comrade Harris. Would it be at all possible, sir, for you to be there?
By the way, he blames them for their deaths just like kind of brutally. Never mind the fact that 56 service members and employees died during his time just in Afghanistan alone while he was in office. You don't hear him going, like, nobody's going to go up and go, 56 people died because of your incompetence, and you were supposed to get us out of Afghanistan. You ran on it. You never did. We were in the whole time. So anybody who dies past, I don't know, week one, because you said you could do it really quickly, anybody who died after the second week of, I don't know, I'll give them February of 2017, isn't that on you? You had a big, beautiful plan for leaving? Yeah?
And I said, yeah, it's going to be real tough. I was really, far away.
You were in the country and you have a plane. Nobody's far away. And also, you knew of it days ahead of time. Stop.
And sometimes it's tough. But I said, you know what? We have to do it. And I got my team and I said, let's go. We're going to Arlington Cemetery.
Like they did it last minute. Are you fucking bananas? After the assassination attempt, this asshole's going to change his planes, not tell his plans, fly his plane someplace, not tell anybody, not doing any front work. Arlington is obviously a safe space, but getting to and from it, wherever he was leaving, that's a factor. This is all bullshit.
Okay.
By the way, he will take no responsibility for what happened there at all. It's all laying it on these parents. They invited me. They did this. They asked for the picture. This is not my fault. That's what he
I said, we're going to Arlington. Because, again, I got to know these people. Because, honestly, they would send me death certificates of their child.
Oh, by the way. So I watched two different versions of this speech when it was live. And I jumped from one to the other. This is the only one that has the following audio. The other two, the one directly from the campaign site and another one from another source, they blacked out or turned the audio off on the next, 5 sentences. It just went dead. You'll see.
I said, sir, would you sign it? Please sign it. We refuse to accept his name on this death certificate. They said he killed our child. And honestly, the incompetence killed their children. The incompetence, gross. And by the way, they lost almost 500 people that day, including the other side.
I don't know what the other side means. They lost almost 500 people. What do you mean? Taliban? ISIS? What are you talking about?
They left Americans behind. They're still there. Nobody knows even what happened to them.
Well, then how do you know they're Americans and how do you know they're still there?
Think of this. They left $85 billion.
Okay, so he eventually gets to that. As a matter of fact, hold on one second. I want to show you something. Let's do this. How long is this in here? What do you think? Yeah, close that down.
Dollars worth of brand new.
There should be like a little counter on it. Yeah, so 204, something in there. Okay, hold on one second. I'm going to, I want to pull up the other version of this that I was watching on YouTube, and I'll show you what I mean. This is, there we go. History, there we go. I just need to find this for you, because, holy shit. Rally in Pennsylvania. That was the first one that came. Yes, this is the first one that came up. Okay, so it up. Okay, and let's see if we can do this. And it's I don't know how far in. I think it's about the right spot. I may have nailed it, but we'll see. This is another version of it. Same speech.
Duel. We didn't lose. Nobody was lost, and nobody would have been lost. I got to know people are the love of our lives.
Okay, this is before.
And they said, would it be possible, sir? Would it be at all possible for you to come, Joe Biden and Comrade Harris? Would it be at all possible, sir, for you to be there? And I said, yeah, it's tough. But I said, you know what? We have to. I said, we're going to Arlington. Because, again, I got to know these people. Because, honestly, they would send me death certificates of their child. They said, sir, would you sign it? Please sign it.
Okay, sorry, it's the same one I'm watching. They put a pause on it when it was originally live. They did a 7-second delay on it. Hold on, I'll find the other one. I have to look through the whole thing of it. Where are you? This is it. Yeah.
Talkers, right?
I think I'm all through here.
And freedom.
I wanted to be called Democratic. I said, then change your name. They don't change their name. Protests an election. Look at them. who were killed, and they are devastated, the people. I had them
Hold on,
over.
Heidi. Hold on.
I ended up spending 4 hours late at night listening to music with all of the relatives of the people that were killed.
It's after that moment.
So needlessly killed. He'll try and... Incredible. Families, and they come in, and we're in Washington. They said, would it be Joe Biden and comrade? And I said, yeah. And sometimes it's tough. Arlington Cemetery. Know these people. Sir, would you sign it? Please sign it. We refuse to accept his name on this death certificate. They said he killed our child. And honestly, the incompetence killed their children. The incompetence, gross. And by the way,
it's the replay. So on the live one, they blocked it. So just saying. Okay, back to where we were. Well, we'll just leave it this one. So he keeps going.
They lost almost 500 people that day, including the other side. They left Americans behind. They're still there. Nobody knows even what happened to them. Think of this. They left $85 billion worth of brand new military equipment that I bought.
That's a lie. So wait, also, real quick, $85 billion worth of military equipment that I bought. $85 billion. How much have we contributed to Ukraine? Right? Allegedly? Like in total, like in military gear? In an active war? So, you're telling me that when we had 3,000 soldiers in country, or 5,000 soldiers in country in Afghanistan, we were not fighting an active war, any of that stuff, he dumped $85 billion worth of gear in there while he was in office? I mean, it's all made up anyways, obviously, but like, nope, they're just going to skate right past this.
Because I rebuilt the entire military, $85 billion worth of equipment behind. They left everything and they moved the military first. Instead of last, you say, you stupid people, you take the military out last. For 18 months, and a lot of you know this, for 18 months, not one American, after I spoke, one person was shot during the trial.
All right, hold on.
He was lost, and nobody would have been lost.
We talk about this in a
Nuclear
minute.
weapons, right? So I got a call from the people. Sir, we're going to be going to Arlington to honor our children who were killed, and they are devastated, the people. I had them over at Bedminster, and they didn't think I'd see them. And
why didn't they think you'd see them?
They said, do you think we'll see him? And they said, well, we don't know. He'll try and make it. I ended up spending 4 hours late at night listening to music with all of the relatives of the people that were killed.
You what?
So needlessly killed.
So you just sat around listening to records?
And I got to know them. And we were looking at the sky, beautiful place. So we're looking at the sky, and
at Bedminster?
We're listening to Elvis, and we're listening to Elton John.
We just got through the E's that night.
Listening to everybody, and
Elvis, Elton John, everybody.
Said, look, your son is looking down at you. And
oh, God.
The whole thing was beautiful. And you get to know them. They didn't think I'd see them, but at most I would spend 15 minutes. And I ended up spending many hours. So I got to know.
By the way, he's telling this story because it is well known that Joe Biden spends extra time with people who've suffered loss. And he knows that it was one of the reasons why Biden kicked his ass. And he's trying to steal some of that. Just telling you.
So they called up and they said, do you think you could be there, sir? I said, I'll try if I can. And we really had to turn things around. Anyway, I got there. And we had a ceremony. We had the changing of the guard. No, we had a beautiful ceremony. And then they said, sir, could you come to the graves? Could you come to the graves?
Yeah, these people asked me. I didn't want to go. I was going to do other shit. But they asked me, could you come to the grave?
After the ceremony, they said, could you come to the graves? Would that be possible? I said, I will.
Really? They just flippantly just said, hey, do you mind walking down here with us? This isn't, I know this is just off the top of my head, but
I got like this big stadium, something was waiting.
I got this big stadium, something was waiting. That's the part that stuck out to me. Run that by me again. Where are we going?
But I got like this big stadium, something was waiting.
I got this big stadium, something was waiting. The something that was waiting was 18 people in a Vietnamese restaurant in Falls Church, Virginia. It was a short drive away, which, by the way, was, I guess, scheduled magically ahead of time. It just happened to be that you were going to be in Falls Church, and you're like, oh, Arlington's right up the fucking road. Like, this is all such bullshit. This is where he went. This is actually this. This is this event with Hung Kao. One more time.
But I got like this big stadium, something was waiting. I said, but I'm going to, because those people.
So I got this big stadium, something was waiting.
Are
something, by the way, they added to the end to the day after he moved everything else so they could come to Arlington because he was far away. Like, this is just bullshit.
the love of our lives. They are the love of our lives, right?
Also, they're the love of our lives. This is him. He's talking about the people that died. These people are the love of our lives. Like, okay, first of all, no, they're not the love of your life. You never met them. And that's also, it's like when he says about Putin that Ukraine was the apple of his eye. Like, he doesn't know how any of these terms of endearment work.
I said, but I'm going to, because those people are the love of our lives. They are the love of our lives, right?
Look, they deserve our honor and our respect. They give everything. I mean, there's a lot of ways to say that we have affection for them, but the love of our lives is just so fucking, it's so odd. It's so weird, I guess is the word.
And in all fairness, I can say there's the mothers, fathers, sisters, the brother.
In all fairness.
But the various people that we're talking about, depending on who it is, but the
yeah, depending, obviously, on who it is.
various people.
The various people.
They say it to me, I'll say it to you. I mean, I don't think they can ever be the same. I say,
Jesus Christ. They say it to me, I can say it to you. They'll never be the same.
is it better now? Because it's 3 years. Is it better? No, it's not better. You know, they haven't.
Okay, wait. Stop. Is it better now, 3 years after they've been dead? Is it better? Who the fuck asks someone that question? Like, I don't even know why you would relate this story, but what the ever loving fuck does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Is it, who says that to somebody, you know, I understand you lost your brother. Is it better now since time has passed? Are you better? Like, who, first of all, asking someone how they're doing now and then them telling you it's always tough. And times like this bring the memory up and those kind of things. Completely natural, the grief process, and some people don't ever get over it in any form, right? Especially the loss of a child. It's devastating. But I would imagine it's especially worse when some dickhead walks up to you and go, I mean, some time has passed. You're better now, right? Are you better now?
Expression, time heals all wounds. But I said, is that expression true? No, sir. Maybe it's worse now, sir. It's devastating. These people are just so devastated. So anyway.
So they say, anyway, they're devastated. Anyways.
We're there, and they said a prayer, different graves, one here, one there.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
And they said to me, I mean, I'm not surprised. I never even thought about it. Sir, would it be possible for you to have a picture with us by the tombstone of my son? You know, the beautiful white tombstones.
Yeah, they're fabulous.
Marble, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
Things. And carved, engraved with the names on them.
Is that how a tombstone works?
I said, absolutely. I wasn't doing it I don't need publicity. I get a lot of publicity. I would like to get a lot less publicity. I would pay to get, I'm the only guy who would hire a public relations agent to get less publicity. Most hire to get publicity. So I was taking pictures at the grave, one with the sister and then the mother and then the father come in and then another group at a different grave. And it was so beautiful, and we left.
And then my people took all those pictures and the pictures and video that we took, and they cut together a campaign ad of me politicizing my trip to Arlington, which is illegal.
Everything was nice. And then later,
everything was nice.
On that day, I heard that we were using the graves of those soldiers for public relations purposes, you know?
Now, this is the part where he attacks Biden full on and says Biden killed them.
And that was all put out by the White House. Joe Biden killed those young people because he was incompetent. And then they tell me that I used their graves for public relations services, and I didn't.
Yeah, you did. Real quick, if I may. Let's see. Hi, chat room. It's just fucking gross. I'm going to find it real quick, if I may. Let's see. Trump, Arlington. Oops. Let's see.
We lost 13 great people. What a horrible day it was. We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
This is Trump's TikTok ad.
Great people. What a horrible day it was.
This is the ad they made.
We didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then they took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan.
The leaving of Afghanistan, just for the record. They took over that disaster, the leaving of Afghanistan. You mean the withdrawal that initially you provided the actual exit date on and had to be extended because you fucked up? Good Lord. So anyways, that's the ad. That's the publicity ad that he made. Also, it's curious that here's the picture of him giving the thumbs up at the grave. I'll show you this real quick. And the girl that's with him is throwing the horns. She's doing this, which, okay, maybe, and I would say arguably, like, maybe her lost husband or brother or whoever it is did that all the time, and she always did that in pictures with him, or they always did it, and so she was doing it too. But the right wing, if a Democrat did that over a gravesite, please. And look at Trump. Look at that. We're gonna be married soon. Like, this is so weird. So, needless to say, all of it is fucking gross. Oops. Come back in here, chat room. Where'd you go? There you are. But is this the TikTok of it? Yeah.
We lost 13 great people.
Yeah, here you go.
What a horrible day it was.
This will replay. Watch at the beginning. It says it's the TikTok account of the real Donald Trump.
One person in 18 months, and then they took over that disaster, the leaving of.
See the TikTok real Donald Trump is down on the bottom. See it, and then it's in the center. Real Donald Trump, right there.
We lost 13.
That's his account.
Great people.
He used it for publicity. He did exactly that. Like, just an asshole. So fucking gross. And then this business.
Graves for public relations services, and I didn't.
You did. You fucking did. There it is. Here, I'll show you. Here, there he is at the actual grave sites. There he is laying flowers there. This is all his team's video. They're not, if you'll notice, the campaign is not attributing this video to any of the families. There's nothing up in the corner that says it was taken by somebody else. It's on his official account. It's his official cameras. It's his official videographer. It's like all of this is lots of it. Look at this. And bloop, there's real Donald Trump right there in the center of it. Just to clarify.
I used their graves for public relations services, and I didn't.
You absolutely fucking did. Whew. You're watching House Parks Megaworldwide. You know, some days are harder than others on this show. It's some days are just they're like aggravatingly gross when dealing with Donald Trump. Because seriously, fuck that guy. And to lie. I mean, keep in mind, Donald Trump famously calls our soldiers suckers and losers. By the way, they arranged this thing to cover for that story coming back up because John Kelly confirmed that he said what's in it for them, and that the video of him, denigrating John McCain's service was in circulation again. And he's like, who would say such a thing? Well, anybody who would say what he said about John McCain on camera in front of a crowd would clearly denigrate other lesser-known soldiers like he gives a fuck. He's sucking up to them now and pretending he gives a shit to cover for his own ass. This is a work of Corey Lewandowski, you think? I wouldn't doubt it. It's just sick. And hell, did you see the Instagram comment? Jack White threatening to sue Trump if he uses Jack's music. Yes, I did. And because they've used it a couple of times, and if they do it again, he's gonna, Josh, he's gonna, and I think Trump has a record now for the number of people who have sent him cease and desist order. The Foo Fighters just did it, and I hope, the only thing I hope is that he keeps playing the Village People because it makes no fucking sense that he's playing gay anthems at his fucking rallies. And it's hilariously embarrassing and silly, right? So, all right, next up, I do want to do, let's see, I've got about a half hour left, yeah. And I've got a stand-up show tonight, 10 o'clock at Flappers here in Burbank, Pacific time. If you're a Patreon, I will be live streaming that from there. And then radio from here tomorrow, God help me. But I want to do one relatively, because we had so much fun with this dipshit last time. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Pool again, who's super fucking mad, guys. Like, bro, how is Ukraine even bro, right? And we saw this Russia issues World War III warning the U.S. article when I was talking to Phil on Saturday, I believe. Was it? Or was it Wednesday? Anyways, we talked about it. And not surprising, they do this all the time. And I've said for a long time that Russia uses mutual assured destruction as a fear umbrella under which they can attack anybody they want. So here's, this is Russia warns World War III coming as Ukraine invades Russia. BRICS convenes 126 nations to drop U.S. dollar. So apparently Tim Pool is seeing some sort of bleed of viewers to Jimmy Dore, and he's trying to make up for the lost revenue by stealing those people back by doing the same kind of shit Jimmy talks about, but like slamming it into one video, I guess. I don't know if we'll cover the whole thing of this video, but for fuck's sake, it was worth a good laugh last time.
Story from Newsweek. Russia issues a warning. World War III. A World War III warning to the U.S. You know why they're doing it?
Because that's what they always do?
How about this? Ukraine says it struck at 2 oil depots inside Russia.
Russia blew up schools and sent rape squads into Ukraine.
So using Western weapons, Western training, Western resources, Western intelligence.
No. No. Actually, the drones they make themselves. They struck these places with drones. The oil fields weren't hit with missiles.
and Western volunteers. They call them volunteers. That means U.S. boots on the ground.
No, it doesn't. And also, which volunteers? You do realize that a good portion of this is happening because of Russians inside Russia doing this too. Are they magically U.S. citizens now?
There has been an invasion of Russia.
What? When did that happen? No way!
Russia has threatened to use nuclear weapons if facing an existential threat.
And so being invaded by a non-nuclear country isn't an existential threat? It's just kind of a nuisance? Or what's the existential part? That, like, if they're filled with ennui?
But perhaps they need not blow us up. From Watcher.guru.
From Watcher.guru, a Bitcoin Ethereum site. What are the, wait, before we move on, what are the other stories? AI sets Shiba Inu, which is one of the cryptocurrency, weekend price. Ripple XRP predicted to hit $7. Here's when. Gold price trades safe about $2,500 as U.S. dollar risk looms. Cardano, change fork schedule for September 1st. Will ADA peak then? I don't know. It's possible. Okay, it's a 2-minute read, though, so you know this is deep. BRICS, 2-minute read. That's my favorite. When you see a news story that's supposed to be full of a lot of information, and they're like, 2-minute read. Okay, so we're just talking broad strokes.
BRICS. 126 nations meet with alliance to discuss ditching the U.S. dollar.
Okay, have fun with that.
My friends, the deep state will not allow that to happen.
Okay, well then I guess yay deep state. Hurrah! The deep state's on our side now. Wait a minute, I am the deep state.
Liberal economic order will not allow that to happen.
Okay, since you live under the liberal economic order, and that's how you make your living, presumably, that's a good thing?
So perhaps Russia will say, we don't need nukes. We're getting off the petrodollar, and you are done.
Hey, asshole, they're already off the petrodollar. They're not even allowed to trade in our system anymore. Boom. I like to look on his face, though, like, like Russia's going to come up and go, you like apples? And you go, yeah. And you go, how you like them apples? Right? I feel like, guys, I feel like Tim is very disappointed in all of us.
And what do you think the response from the United States is going to be?
Have fun in your senior year.
It's going to be war.
We're going to bomb the countries that don't use our dollar into using our dollar? Are we going to, we're going to bomb them with dollars. Brilliant.
Our only hope
is that Russia blows up Ukraine with a nuclear weapon?
In my opinion, is a Donald Trump victory.
And why would that be? You mean the guy who wants a negative interest rate in the United States, meaning that it costs more to print money than to borrow it? That you think that's the economic win-win that'll work? Getting the dollar down below the cost of $1, well below, so he can refinance all of his loans, and so can you.
Trump wins, secures the United States, protects it.
What does that mean? How does he secure and protect the United States? What does that mean? What do you mean secures and protected? I think we're pretty secure right now, pretty protected. And I thought he built up. Didn't he refill the cupboards? They were bare, and then he rebuilt the military. It's rebuilt. I mean, it's in the process of being even more built, right? Aren't they building ships in Wisconsin right now?
And then pushes for security in this country.
After you secure the country, then you push for security in the country. Totally. Absolutely. You know, some people will think you're going, Hal, Tim isn't making any sense. This is weird kind of emotional gibberish. And you're right, but wrong at the same time. It makes sense, and if you speak imbecile.
and lets these other countries trade as they see fit. It could lead to global conflict and competition.
Huh? Sorry. So we're the key to a strong dollar is an isolationist economic theory around securing the nation and letting BRICS happen. The deep state's never going to let BRICS do their thing, but Donald Trump will? Does anybody know what the fuck he's talking about these days? I'm dead serious. I don't know where he is. Wherever Tim Pool is broadcasting from, I'm going to guess there's 20% less oxygen than wherever his normal studio is, because this is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
But it'll avoid nuclear annihilation.
But it will be financial annihilation. So starvation and death over time as opposed to glowing in the dark. Also, what happens if they launch... Hold on. They're going to nuclear annihilate us, and you're worried about how the dollar's going to do? And you also think we're not going to respond if they do?
First, from Newsweek.
Uh-huh.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a World War III warning to the U.S.,
yeah, it's not the first time,
saying the West was asking for trouble by even considering Ukrainian requests to use supplied weapons to conduct strikes deep within Russian territory.
Oh, so now they're the thought police? Is that how it works, Tim? So even if we consider it, now we get the death penalty? So Tim Pool is on the side of killing people for thought crimes now? Yeah, you're siding with the thought crime police? Nice one, Beanie Boy.
Discussions about using Western-supplied missiles to strike Russia are tantamount to playing with fire, Lavrov told reporters in Moscow on Tuesday.
And threatening to nuke cities full of innocent people isn't?
The U.S., despite requests from Ukraine, has remained steadfast on its position that its long-range weapons may only be used on Ukrainian soil or to defend the country from Russia cross-border attacks.
This is the first time Tim is reading that sentence, and it goes against the narrative he set up earlier. But don't worry, that won't stop him.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly asked Western allies to approve the use of their weapons to strike targets inside Russia, insisting that doing so could turn the tide of war. Lavrov warned that the West against entertaining Kiev's request.
Yeah, we should not be entertaining when we hear their request. We shouldn't tap dance or sing, and no yodeling.
Quote, "We have long been hearing these speculations about allowing the use of not only Storm Shadow, but also American long-range missiles, by the way. Some anonymous source in Washington said that such work is being done."
Some anonymous source in Washington. You mean Trump? Who? Corey Lewandowski? Let me guess. That Trump's Steve Bannon's lawyer. That's the source that's talking to Sergei Lavrov.
Ukraine's request is being viewed in a generally positive light. I'd like to add they've already used U.S. weapons to strike Russian territory.
Like what?
This is blackmail. This is an attempt to pretend that the West wants to avoid excessive escalation. But in reality, this is deceit. The West does not want to avoid escalation. The West is asking for it. And it seems to me that this is already obvious to everyone. We are not.
By the way, I'm starting to enjoy Tim Pool's being upset. It's one of the small pleasures in this news cycle. I do feel bad sometimes because he's so exceedingly stupid about these issues that it seems like a biological mental failing. So I feel bad, laughing at something like that, as anybody would. But he's morally and ethically stupid as well. So it's hard to kind of separate them.
Now confirming once again that playing with fire, that playing with fire, and they are like small children playing with matches, is a very dangerous thing for grown-up uncles and aunts who are entrusted with nuclear weapons in one or another Western country.
Yeah, I'm sure that translates a lot better. It makes more sense in Russian.
He added, Americans unequivocally associate conversations about the Third World War as something that, God forbid, if happens, will affect Europe exclusively. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder told reporters during a press conference, during a news.
By the way, no, just all right, let's say Russia nukes Europe. That doesn't mean it affects Europe only. Of course, it'll That's why we're in the NATO alliance, dumb fuck. Trump wants you to think it only affects Europe. Trump's the one who's like, if they get hit, it's not our ass. We have an ocean between us. Screw them. It's the same thing of like, I don't know. That's the Jews in Poland's problem.
Conference on Tuesday that Washington's policies on Ukraine's use of American-supplied missiles has not changed.
Right. This is, again, undermining all of Tim's argument.
You've heard us say the Ukrainians can use U.S. security assistance to defend themselves from cross-border attacks. In other words, counterfire. But as it relates to long-range strikes, deep strikes into Russia, our policy has not changed. We're not seeking conflict with Russia. We are simply supporting a democratic nation who was invaded 2.5 years ago and enabling them to protect themselves. I'm going to go ahead and say lies, but anyway.
What's the lie part? I'm going to go ahead and say lies just because I get, if I don't say it, I get a little bit of pushback from the Ruska super chats. They stopped coming in. I'm going to go ahead and say lie. What was the lie part? That they weren't invaded 2.5 years ago? What are you talking about? Like, even if you believe it was provoked, that doesn't change the fact that they were attacked. And you could, if you provoke someone, if they shoot you, they're still the guilty party. There was no reasonable expectation of violence on the Russian side ever.
Look at what's happening to Ukraine. They're surging into Russia. You're going to have World War III. This is Donald Trump speaking Tuesday about the invasion in Detroit.
By the way, we're going to have World War III. Excuse me. We are on the precipice, on the brink, and basically in the middle of World War III already as of, I don't know, pick a month over the last year and a half, according to him, according to Donald Trump. He said one of those things or all of those things every week since.
Responding to Trump's remarks, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said many Western countries are already up to their ears in this conflict. To put it simply, they are directly involved in this conflict. Such forays like the one in Kursk Oblast are, of course, acts that escalate tension to the limit.
Limit of what? Sorry, there's no limit to Russia's invasion?
Therefore, there is cause for concern.
I am concerned. Are you guys concerned? I'm concerned. And Tim's concerned. And he's concerned that you're not concerned enough. And you need to be concerned, okay? Start being concerned. Because if you're not concerned, then you're not watching. And if you're not watching, he's not making beanie money.
In this case, one can treat such alarmist statement with understanding. There are no winners.
No, there are no winners, especially if Ukraine wins.
In nuclear war.
Thank you, Joshua.
Only survivors. Ukraine says it struck at 2 oil depots inside Russia. Why are we tolerating this?
What? Who? Who's we, asshole? He's getting mad again. Who's we, asshole? What do you mean? It's oil. This is how they fund their war effort. Why are you tolerating rape squads that are paid for by oil? What do you mean? I mean, I don't know why he's this upset about this, except because I don't believe he genuinely thinks this is going to be the beginning of World War III. I don't believe it.
Democrat voters who are supporting this are either abject, malicious evil or the banality of evil.
Can I just be a dick? Honest to God, Tim, whether it's banal evil or just kind of like beige evil, I really you're convincing me to vote Democratic just because I know it irritates you at this point.
I will say it again.
Well, you're nothing if not repetitive.
Ukraine has invaded Russia.
When? What led up to that?
They've evacuated 130,000 civilians. They are bombing oil depots.
Okay. What happened before that? It's literally like a rapist going, this woman scratched my face. She gouged my eyes. Right? She dragged her keys across my chest. That's the argument here. How dare she? How dare she fight and get my DNA under her fingernails so that I can be identified later? That's the argument here. I mean, like I said, I do enjoy watching him get pissy and angry. I don't know why. It's so fucking dark. It's odd. It didn't seem like over the top. Like there's a personal threat somewhere there. And I don't mean the general, like, geopolitical, we're all gonna die. Because, I'm sure there were, like, alarmists like this asshole during the Cold War. But I mean, Tim's young. He wasn't alive during that.
I do not like Russia. I do not like Ukraine.
It sounds like you like Russia. It sounds like you hate Ukraine. Hold on. There's not this isn't fucking green eggs and ham, asshole. This is, you said Ukraine is like the biggest evil on the planet or whatever the fucking last episode we covered this dickhead. And poor Russia. And they're going to kill us all. And that'd be right to.
Let them have their war. I don't care. Russia should not have invaded Ukraine. The U.S. should not have tried to interfere in Ukraine and tried to induct them into NATO.
We didn't try to induct them into NATO. You don't induct anyone into NATO. They have to request. It's a volunteer organization. CSTO isn't, though. The Russian version of NATO, that has not been voluntary. As a matter of fact, most of the countries that have joined is because Russia has either invaded or threatened them and then forced them to join, which is what you think NATO does. Huh? Wait, when does this motherfucker think Ukraine, like, got the go-ahead to be in NATO and that's what triggered it? When the fuck does he think this happened?
There is no innocence here, only escalation.
Okay, so the country, the people of Ukraine that were murdered, raped, buried in shallow graves, had their homes rigged with explosives in case anybody returned and all that kind of stuff, those people are not innocent because you think there was a conversation about Ukraine joining NATO at some point that caused an acute need for Russia to attack. Also, you do realize Finland has a bigger border with Russia than Ukraine does, and they're in NATO, and Russia didn't invade fucking Finland.
And the people in this country that are supporting the Ukraine flag-waving Democrat psychopaths...
That would be me. I feel seen. Yes?
And neocons...
Not quite the same people, but...
...are going to destroy this planet, they're going to destroy this country, and they are going to wipe out large portions of humanity.
Well, that sounds pretty Nixonian, actually. I think it wasn't Kissinger who said it. His complaint was the worthless eaters. Isn't it Russia that's threatening to wipe out large sections of humanity? So, wait, sorry. Russia attacks Ukraine because they think there's an existential secondary threat, and we help Ukraine because if you can't help in a conflict and you don't, you're on the side of the aggressor. And then Ukraine, while still being attacked, while Russia's still making gains on their sovereign territory, enters Russian sovereign territory. And if Russia responds by nuking people, that's on us for helping the person fight back. So let me get this right. So clearly Tim Pool is in the lay back and take it or the rapist is going to kill us all camp. That's the moral logic of Timcast IRL. Cool.
They need to stop.
Again, lie back and take it.
I don't know that Donald Trump averts the crisis.
I'm guessing no. First of all, he's not going to win. But also, I don't know why you think it would avert, why the Ukrainians would stop fighting or the Europeans would stop backing them just because we did. And we've already set up a long-term support plan for them anyways because of, like tankies and Ruskies in our own government that have been trying to, hamstring the entire situation.
I can certainly tell you that it's the better option, and heaven help us. Russia at any moment could begin using nuclear artillery.
Yep. Any second. Don't make any plans tomorrow. I'm just telling you. I know you're like, yeah, I got what? Yeah, I'm free Sunday. I could go see Alien Romulus. Don't bother. Any second. You know why? Because in 1997, Russia signed the NATO-Russian founding agreement that agreed that any country can decide its own sovereignty. And if somebody wants to join NATO, including Ukraine, they can, and they have every right to, and it's no big deal. They don't have to. Nobody has to join CSTO, and nobody has to join NATO. But if they want to, it's up to them because they agree on the sovereign lines of the separation of countries in 1997. But is that big? Oh, that's not why. I'm sorry.
Or tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine to stop the incursion into Kursk.
And then what do the Ukrainians do? Just retreat, or do they go, "Oh my God, these assholes are nuking everyone. We need to spread out and sabotage every aspect of Russia because they are monsters"? How's that work? What would you do? What would you do if the United States bordered on Russia and Russia invades our country, we push into some of their land, and their response is to nuke Chicago or something like that, and you're inside Russia when it happens? Where do you go, "Oh, fuck," drop everything and run back? What do you think happens? I mean, he would drop everything and run back. He wouldn't be there in the first place. But anybody with a soul would fight twice as hard. You'd hook up with, like, you know, with locals that agree with you. You'd set up a network and you'd start chewing them from the inside. You'd spend the rest of your life bringing these murderers to justice, wouldn't you?
I'm hoping they don't.
Yeah. And if they, they probably won't. So like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show.
I got a few hopes.
One, that Nutrafol works.
Is that Russia is just pathetic and cowardly and just gives up. It's all over. They get invaded and they just cry and whine about it. Not that I like what's happening with the war and the conflict on either side.
I don't like it. I hate Ukraine, but I don't like it.
Point is, whatever ends the war, maybe Donald Trump gets elected, tells Ukraine it's over, and Russia and Ukraine stop.
Stop what? What do you mean stop? Russia started it. Why would they stop? Why would Russia stop if Donald Trump tells you it doesn't help Ukraine anymore? You know what would stop? The existence of Ukraine.
But so long as Democrats are in power, they are going to exacerbate this problem. Russia will eventually retaliate. There's no reality where Russia sits back and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we've lost."
Why not? So in your mind, Russia is on it as a country, and its leadership and its people are on a track that no matter what, they will end up nuking someone at some point, unless they get what they want. So if anybody doesn't give them what they want, whether it's if Georgia fights back, or Chechnya, or Azerbaijan, or fucking, or Armenia rather, any of these areas they control, shit, if they get too much hell from parts of the DPRK or whatever, that anybody who pushes back on China, eventually it's just a matter of time before Russia nukes somebody as a country. That means the existence of Russia itself is an existential threat to the security of every human on Earth, and that every country in the world, whether they are partners or not, has a stake in its destruction. What are we all supposed to do? At some point, if anybody pushes back on what they want, which is apparently world domination, right? The Ruski Mir, the Russian world. If anybody pushes back, we're all fucking dead. I mean, I don't see another option other than everybody pushes back. The other thing, too, is that you think the Russians are so awful that if they're getting their ass handed to them, they're just going to nuke people. This is it. There's not a point where the people of Russia break before nukes are fired, especially in a ground war where they're getting their ass kicked.
Pack it in, boys. We're fleeing, heading east. No way. There's no reality in which Ukraine continues the incursion and Russia just says, "Guess we lose an oblast," basically like a state. No, if it comes down to the point of true desperation,
you think they're going to bomb their own area?
Putin says, Low-yield nuclear artillery. Flatten them. Send
Flatten Kursk?
a message.
Send a message. Yeah. You get the feeling this asshole plays too many video games? You get that feeling? I get that feeling.
Low-yield nuclear artillery.
Uh-huh.
This means they're launching them from ground-based artillery.
Uh-huh. Right.
Firing weapons with a large blast radius, but not quite near what we're going to see with ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Uh-huh.
And that begins, my friends, the nuclear escalation.
So the next step is obviously ICBMs. How long does that take? 8 seconds? 25 seconds? 3 minutes? How long after they launch those things do we wait until the payload goes off when we know they're nuclear? Because we can tell from satellite imagery. They launch a nuclear weapon and we go, it's probably low yield. We'll wait till it lands and then we'll respond.
Heaven help us if Russia actually feels like Moscow would fall if we ever get to that point. Because then it's ICBMs. Europe will be a pancake.
Europe will be a pancake. With or without butter and syrup. I just want to know whether it's just got kind of that warm, fluffy kind of joy to it or a true breakfast treat.
I hope it doesn't go there.
I hope so. Yeah, maybe it will. Maybe it won't. We don't know.
A lot of people have optimism bias and normalcy bias. They don't believe it's possible.
No, I don't. I know almost everything is possible. I think you're painting a picture of it being probable because you actually do have an attitude towards one of the players in this, specifically Ukraine, as you've said before. And you, for some reason, it's personal to you that these fuckers should die. And it seems monetary.
They think that it'll never happen. Putin will never use these weapons. You do not get to go on the media every day and say Putin is a despot, psychopath, tyrant, and then try and tell me the man will not use nuclear weapons. Pick one.
Well, also, I don't think they use them all together. He's a killer and that kind of stuff, but he also wants to live. He's not a jihadist, for example. There is no afterlife for him. He's a hedonist at his root, and he's not going to die for Mother Russia. He's not. He's a self-involved psychopath. It's very different. He's not going to commit, suicide by Interpol. He has no interest in that. And the people around him are the same way. If we were talking about Iran or even Saudi Arabia or something like that, you might have a case, right? But they worry that Mecca and Medina would be destroyed in this exchange, so that's what keeps them at bay. The same thing with Temple on the Mountain in Israel and the exchange between Iran. That's why the bombs themselves are not in the nuclear range of things. But the people around Putin and himself, they want to live. They want to be on yachts with hookers smoking cigars. They don't have 72 virgins in the afterlife they're looking forward to.
Because it can't be both.
Well, yeah, it can. Because he's a managed psychopath. More of a sociopath, really. He's not a psychopath. He's a sociopath. He doesn't care. But he cares about himself. He's got a survival instinct, and his survival instinct alone is enough that's why we haven't had an escalation so far.
Either he is a psychopathic tyrant who will do anything to stay in power.
Right. If being on the receiving end of a nuclear exchange also takes you out of power.
Or he's a pathetic, spineless coward. Which one?
Or he's a manipulative, materialistic asshole who thinks he can claim this ground and he's working on the give and take of it and is categorically trying to decide, well, I can give up this and keep Crimea and nobody cares about the Kursk area and maybe I can manage this until somebody slits his throat and tries to take over and make nice with Europe because they don't want to live like this.
If he is the despot you claim him to be, he will absolutely say, I will not give up power, and you will not pry it unless you do for my cold, dead hands.
Well, then he has to die. I don't know what you're arguing. He's got to die then. Because that's never going to go away, right? No one is safe as long as this guy is alive. So by hook or by crook, whether the Ukrainians do it or we send in fucking James Bond, the world is on the precipice of death until Vladimir Putin is dead. Right? Where's the solution in giving this asshole whatever he wants for being a murderous dickhead? Why is this guy like the only solution is a cookie?
Vladimir Putin, to me, comes off as a person who would absolutely use nuclear weapons. We may get there by other means. 126 nations meet with alliance, the BRICS nations. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Right. So he's got another option in his mind that doesn't involve that's financial annihilation, which is that he'll just live off like a tick off the blood of a secondary economic system of drugs, guns, and human beings, slavery, and arms, and drugs. That's his three big industries, and they'll use BRICS to control that because they'll take it off the U.S. grid because it's hard to get $100 U.S. bills because we track them better now.
Around 126 nations will attend a BRICS municipal conference, all showing interest in joining the bloc and ditching the U.S. dollar. The queue to join BRICS is getting longer. The developing countries are expressing their interest in joining the alliance.
Yeah, it's going to be fabulous. The BRICS crypto is going to go through the fucking roof. Here's what I suggest, Tim. Invest all your money in it the minute it comes out. Don't hesitate. Every the U.S. dollar is going to completely crater, bro. So take all your U.S. dollar, anything you have in U.S. holdings, or even the pound or the euro. I mean, because God knows. Take all your money and put it in the BRICS crypto. It's the only way you're going to be safe. Also move to Brazil, I guess.
The BRICS countries, Sixth International Municipal Forum, IMF. That's funny how they're calling it IMF. Will take place in Moscow.
They don't. That's what it would be in English. And going forward in the conversation, they'll call it IMF in the printout, but these other countries don't speak English. And a lot of times the words are in different orders.
Between August 27th and 28th, which was already long past.
Not long past. I mean, it's like 3 days ago.
Mostly developing countries hailing from Asia, Africa, South America, and Eastern Europe shared initial interest in joining the bloc.
They shared, wow. They shared initial interest. Sounds like a done deal to me. Pack your shit, folks. Everybody, meet you in the bunker.
I'm
going to have to build a new background for myself for the show that's just completely in a bunker for times like this. You know what I mean? So I can retreat into it when these videos happen. Like when I'm covering him or Glenn Beck or Alex Jones or something, I just go straight into a bunker full of fucking cans of beans.
And ambition is to strengthen their local currencies and not be dependent on the U.S. dollar for trade, as they have been for some time.
Yes. And the way you strengthen your local currency is to peg it to an unknown crypto run by Russia or China. Genius. Why didn't I think of that?
The event will include more than 70 business events and a large-scale exhibition showcasing the annual international exhibitions, Digitech.
Also, a lot of hookers and vodka. I got to be completely honest. It's really just a fucking orgy for fat guys that come from all over the world. They run things, and then you hope you get sent to Russia for the big fat guy oiling and slip and slide thing that we do with the vodka and the hookers and the death thing. You know, it works. You draw a crowd every time.
And mechanical engineering strategies and technologies. Almost half of the world shows interest in joining the BRICS and dethroning the U.S. dollar.
Almost half. Let me guess. Half by number of countries, and the half of the half they're talking about is 126 countries that all combined, including Russia and China and Brazil, equal the other half of the world economy. So Europe and Central and North America are half the world's economy, and all these other countries, even including China and Russia, is less than half of the world's economy. Cool story, bro.
That's the end, man.
Yeah, it's over. More than 40 countries have expressed interest in joining BRICS. Only 26 nations have formally sent their applications to join the alliance. Around 21 countries have informally expressed their interest in being part of the grouping. Yeah, sure, pass the potatoes. With others just showing general interest. in what the BRICS bloc has to offer, which would be what? Basically, hookers and fat guy orgies. I like coming here once a year, but I'm not coming more than twice unless you can promise hooker and fat guy orgies. That's what Russia does. You know, in America, they think of Russia as like a gas station with nukes. And the rest of the world, we think of it as a gas station with fat guy orgies. So, and blow and vodka. Yeah.
Let me break it down for you.
Break it down. Oh. All right.
What is the U.S. economy based on?
Fuck. Jeez. Real estate. No. Invention industry. But it's what's the U.S. economy based on? It's a lot of different stuff. I mean, we have the world's largest chemical, petrochemical, real estate, biggest real estate holdings, satellite companies, space travel. The FAA in the United States is the standard for all airline flight in the country, so we set the standards for that. So therefore, we have the most, the biggest airplane industry in the world. A lot of fast food, a lot of not so fast food, a lot of sit down eating places. Let's see, what's it based on? Let me guess. He's going to say dollars.
It's called the petrodollar.
No, it's not. The United States is not based on the petrodollar. We're not. We're not relying on oil as our primary source of the economy. That's not at all. And there is no petrodollar. There's an exchange point with Saudi Arabia that people call the petrodollar, but if that exists, then so does the fucking Chinese crap dollar and the TV dollar, the Samsung dollar, and the whatever else we trade in.
If you want to buy oil, you use U.S. dollars. We had an alliance, an agreement with Saudi Arabia. I should say we had an agreement with them.
That's over.
On the petrodollar deal where they would only accept dollars for oil for 50 years. That deal ended.
Yeah, and so did oil's dominance as a function of our economy. That's why we're getting to the point where we supply more oil to the world than we use. We're about to crest past that point. That's what Trump was talking about with oil dominance.
They're now trading in other currencies. We forced other countries, literally forced, to use the U.S. dollar to buy oil.
No, we didn't literally force. We had a security agreement with them in some cases that we would protect their waterways in their exchange for this. If we stop protecting their waterways, what do you think? Where do you think the Houthis aim their shit if around Saudi Arabia if the U.S. Navy stops stopping them? What do you think happens?
So if you are, let's call it oil land.
Brilliant.
Small Middle Eastern nation, and you produce oil. If you want to sell it first it has to go on the international market, available to all, and you can only trade in dollars. That means because of what the U.S. demands, you're accepting U.S. dollars for this, or else. Oh, we know what happens to countries that try to get off the dollar. When Gaddafi or Saddam Hussein said we want to trade elsewhere, euros or dinars, we saw what happened. Let's say.
By the way, the rise of the Iraqi dinar as an actual currency is a QAnon myth that has existed for a very long time. If you want to use another currency, like euros, for example, one of the reasons why they didn't do the euros because it's relatively new and it was viewed as unstable for a long time. Increasingly, there's a euro market. There's a petro euro, I guess, but the U.S. dollar is the most stable currency in the world. That's why they use it. Good Lord.
You're a small nation called
oil land.
Silver land. You don't make a lot of oil, but you got a lot of silver. So you need that oil to get the silver. What do? Well, your country first must buy U.S. dollars. You need to trade your currency for U.S. dollars so that you can buy oil. So you go to the U.S. and you...
Because nobody trusts the currency of silver land and nobody wants Iraqi dinars on that scale. What the fuck am I going to do with this many Iraqi dinars? Who's going to take them off my hands? Right?
We're going to do 100 silver coins in exchange for, $2,000. That way we can buy oil. Random number, right?
Very random.
Then with the dollars, they buy oil. The U.S. then has silver land currency that they can spend in silver land and buy whatever they want.
Or trade back for, I think, no. Foreign reserves don't work that way.
What did the U.S. do to get access to this currency? Nothing. They printed the money. There's inflation, interest rates. They just make it and say, okay, give us your currency and we'll let you have the oil. For Silverland to have money to actually get the oil, they must export something of value so that their economy is strong and you have something that is worth buying. Other people have that's worth buying. If your country produces nothing, the U.S. is going to say your currency is worth nothing. Why would we give you any dollars?
Also, what if we have too much silver? The United States has silver. Fuck do we need silver for? What happens when we produce more oil than we need? What if we shift all our cars to electric and we have thorium nuclear reactors or micronuclear reactors in the United States? We don't need oil anymore. Then what happens to all the oil land? Why do we give them dollars for that? Because resource capitalism is a increasingly shrinking part of the world economy? Nah.
You're going to have to give us everything you got. The United States has no such limitations. When the U.S. wants to buy oil, it just makes the money and buys the oil. Just because we can.
I see. So this is we should be on the gold standard argument, I suppose. What happens if the United States just creates the money out of so much money that it's not worth anything anymore? Why would anybody trade with it? Why would we even, if that's the case, why do we even manage its worth? Ever. Why does the Fed try to manage a 2% inflation point? Why don't we just let it run wild like the fucking, Turkish lira or whatever? If we just print it and take shit, if there's no standard, if it's just we run up debt, if our debt isn't worth shit, never mind the fact that we got the like $26 trillion yearly GDP, but whatever.
We produce a lot of oil too, don't get me wrong.
I probably get you wrong. No, I don't. No.
When the petrodollar ends, what happens now is
we shift to renewables and oil is in the rearview mirror and we don't need it as a driver for our economy and everybody else does, so they can fight over it. And while they're spending their resources on a limited fuel that's created only by adversarial countries, our economy accelerates technologically exponentially. Something like that.
Silverland trades in whatever they want.
Yeah. As long as it's silver, I guess.
Probably Chinese yuan or
really? Yeah. What? How's the worth of Chinese yuan determined, Tim? How do they decide what the yuan is worth in any given day? Who does that? Is it because of the amount of it in circulation? Is it because of the amount of gold they have in reserve?
BRICS currency. The U.S. then says, hey, we need oil too. And the rest of the world says, what are you going to give us for it? And they're going to.
And then we go, oh, wait, no, we don't. We'll just use what we got. And we'll buy some from Canada. And then we'll focus on renewables. And then you guys can fight over oil.
Say U.S. dollars. And they're going to say, what does that get us? You don't export anything. And no one needs your dollars to buy anything.
Okay. So Tim thinks that, he believes in singular resource capitalism. That he's one of these people that believes the Trump drill baby drill thing. Yeah. Because if we produce more oil than anybody, if oil's just, if oil's what everybody's trading for the dollar for, and we produce more oil, we can sell our own oil in dollars. If you want to buy our oil, let's say, and we have the most in the world, and we can turn down the spigot and raise the cost of it, we could manipulate the world through our own enforcement of the petrodollar the way Russia and Saudi Arabia tried to when Trump was in office.
That means the U.S. economy will start to crumble.
Why? Why? Why will it crumble? Why would a country of 340 million people with the resources that we have, we can grow our own food? China imports 80 to 85% of their fuel and food. Russia doesn't produce enough of anything to survive. Why would we crumble? We would just become a walled-off country, sort of, along with, in partnership with Canada and Mexico. Everybody in this country will be relatively comfortable if the rest of the world starts to crater. That's the problem they have. That's why the dollar is so stable.
Mostly imports. Goods that are produced here will remain stable based on the local economies and how much people expect to get paid. The problem is, of the goods that we import, which is like basically everything now, are vegetables.
We do not import our vegetables?
Why are we importing food from China?
We're not importing food from China. What? I don't even know where this is coming from. Most of our food needs are between the necessity foods like avocados and fucking corn, shit like that, staples. Either are grown here or come from Mexico or Canada. China buys enormous amounts of food from us.
What's going to happen then is China's not.
Hold on. What? No. You don't get to jump past this. I don't know. I know why I'm sticking to more of this than I deserve. I should have ended 20 minutes ago, but Jesus Christ.
Not going to need any of our dollars to buy oil, and they've been dumping dollars. So that laptop you bought for $1,000, $10,000 easy. Imagine if right now you wanted a laptop.
Unless they start making them in Taiwan again, or Japan, or Mexico, which is where a lot of the factories are.
But they all were lowest price, $6,000, $7,000, because they're all imported, and you've got to pay for the actual cost of that labor.
I see. So he's so close to it, ladies and gentlemen. Tim is so close to it that, and it won't matter because we're all going to get nuked anyways, but apparently things are going to become more expensive because it'll be basically an anti-slavery tax, which is a good reason why things are slightly more expensive in the United States right now. That's why across a bunch of different areas, never mind the fact that China bought a lot of real estate in the United States under LLCs and leaves it vacant to drive up the value of their other properties and stuff. But a lot of foreign investors do that.
You wouldn't be able to. Now, don't get me wrong, your cheeseburger is only going to be $30, but that laptop's going to be way more.
Why would a cheeseburger be $30? What, I mean, we have cattle ranches here, and again, this is South America largely that you're talking about, or Central America. We have direct linkage with them. We're not getting fucking. Does he think we get beef from China?
When you're talking about what really gets impacted by this, it's imported goods.
Assembled goods, I think.
We can trade amongst ourselves however we want. We have a labor standard between each other. But the resulting impact at the end of the petrodollar means labor won't be cheaper overseas. We'll be forced to return to local labor.
And we'll largely automate it because of the advances in robotics that one of our biggest concerns is how many people in this country are going to be put out of work by robots. What do you think that's going to do to the Chinese labor market? What does this asshole think is happening in China right now?
I believe Donald Trump's view is strengthen the U.S. economy.
How?
So we have strong imports.
Strengthen the U.S. economy so we have strong imports. Strong imports from weak countries is the idea?
Strong standard economics in terms of like unemployment rates are low. And,
like they are now.
And
yeah, I think we're hitting bedrock. I think he's run out of phrases, and now he's actually trying to back up what he's saying.
Wage growth is high, inflation is low, things like that.
And how does that happen? What causes that? Imports? What, beef from China? What the fuck are you talking about?
That way, when the petrodollar falls, and it will,
we won't care because we don't need oil anymore. We don't rely on oil, and we've moved to renewables because Donald Trump is the fucking green president.
America will still have a footing for trade. Kamala Harris, Biden, the others, their view is no. Keep the guns pointed on them and threaten to annihilate the world unless they give us the oil.
What? Look, I read the Green New Deal, and I recognize it's more of a PR document than anything that's been filed, but or that's legally binding. But, By the way, you do realize this is the Chinese and the Russian business model exactly. Don't believe me? Ask any other country in the South China Seas. What the fuck do you think the TPP was about?
It will not end well for us.
Good Lord. I wish that I could invest in the fear this guy is trying to sell. Like, I wish I could at least understand it enough to try and, like process it. Because then it would be kind of funnier because there'd be a little bit of lift and shock and adrenaline to it. But there's not even that. Like, honest to fucking God, I am stunned that there is someone dumber about these issues than Glenn Beck and Bongholio. Is this, and by the way, is this ubiquitous across all right-wing media? I haven't seen fucking Ben Shapiro take on the petrodollar or any of that shit. We know Jimmy's a fucking moron on it, but do they all think this? Do they all read this shit the same way? Do they all have the same fucking Russian whisperer trying to scare them and they're easy targets?
I'm going to wrap it up there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. We'll be talking culture and women quitting their jobs to do OnlyFans. Smash.
Wow. We're going to be talking culture and women quitting their jobs to do OnlyFans. Because OnlyFans, even though it pays and you have to do stuff, isn't a job. I guess. Shit. All right. Well, all right, we're done. I gotta, at some point, I have to actually get ready for, clean myself up and do a show, chat room. That's the second full Tim Pool clip we've done on the show. And I feel like we've been missing out. And I don't know enough from, his early stuff, if he started dumb and has gotten dumber, or this is just, it's always been this way. Like, this idiotic, angry, dopey thread that runs through his show is permanent. Because I gotta say, comedically speaking, it's wonderful. It's got a woody hint of paranoia mixed with the sort of a fruity aftertaste of ignorant bullshit. It's just a fine aperitif sometimes to end a show. But it also, the reason I bring it up is because it seems to be, this dude has a giant audience, and he everything he said is shit we heard like Jimmy Dore saying 2 years ago that Scott Ritter was pouring down his fucking gullet. And that video I just showed you is from yesterday. Also, Ukraine has been inside Russia for almost 2.5 weeks now. And he's acting like it happened last night and this is the trigger point. Like, at any moment, I expect him to go, oh my God, the Nord Stream 2 has been blown up. We're all going to die. Shit. That was one of his smarter clips, really? Oh my God. If that's the case, Jesus. Hold on. Whoops. And get up here. There you go. Saha says how that was sparked. That was one of his smarter clips. Jesus. I mean, like, yeah, obviously, I'm punching up. He's got a huge channel, a lot of followers and all this stuff, or a lot of bots anyways. But like and subscribe. I think I have to hit like 250,000 subscribers, or I'm never going to be invited on any of these shows, even for them to, when they're mad at me, to say anything. I think as long as my audience size is this size in their estimation, that it gives them an excuse not to have to deal with me. So subscribe to the channel, if only so that shows start to have to deal with me. That in and of itself, it should be the best reason to subscribe to the channel, I think. Just like drive my numbers up so that these assholes have to sit across a table from me at some point, because I'm as big or bigger than they are as far as subscribers. Because that's the only thing that's going to do it. Because it's too fucking easy for these morons to hide from me. Bongholio and Glenn Beck and this dickhead. Fucking Rusty Trombone. They can all pretend my channel doesn't have an impact, which it absolutely does. But they can pretend it doesn't because of the subscription numbers at, where they are currently. So please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, share the show, all that kind of stuff. if only just to make these assholes upset when I surpass them in viewership. I think that's worth it in and of itself. Okay, I gotta go. It's so fucking hot back here in the garage. Remind me to turn on the air conditioner tomorrow when I do the radio show, although it'll be cooler in the morning. Fuck. All right, love you guys, and for those of you that are Patreon subscribers, I will see you guys sort of tonight as I do the show in at Flappers. Okay. Also, next week, the Seattle show location has changed, I think, to the Yacht Club. It's owned by the Crocodile where we were, but it's another club. It's like a block away, and I think that's what happened. Because a double booking or something like that. Anyway, so they bumped us over. It's basically the same size club, I think, but we're over there. We're at the, and I'll post graphics on it in the next couple days so that everybody knows where they are. And then Friday, of course, we're still at Dante's in Portland, and then the night after that is Sexy Liberal Portland. If you're in the area and you're not busy in the Crater, come see us. Yeah, we love you, and it'll be super fun. And anyways, I'll see you tomorrow for the radio show, and it should be great. And then one more thing.